Beta impressions for NHL 24. So I played World of Chel, so I think the one thing that we were mainly gauging the most was that pressure gauge system. I like it. I think it's a good addition to the game. I think it activated far too quickly. I mean, honestly, a team would go in, they'd take one shot, they land one body check, and this thing was already full. And then it seemed like EA added an update to the game about like 3-4 days in, and then it seemed like from that point on, I think it was set perfectly. It would rarely activate. You would have to be really into the zone for a little bit longer period of time before it would activate. And I think it's I think where it's set in terms of it being activated, I think it's set perfectly. So obviously you go in, you control the puck, and the gauge will passively increase, right? Start to fill. If you take a shot, it adds to it. You take a hit or you land a body check, it adds to it. You take the puck away in the offensive zone, meaning the team gets it, but you take it right back away from them. That adds to it as well. And then once you get it, you get a 25-second like full pressure countdown, which you can see in the middle of the zone. I think that countdown is a little bit too long. 25 seconds is a little bit ridiculous for a team to have that much full pressure into the zone. I think it should be about 15 seconds or less. What happens is the team that obviously gets the full pressure will have this increase in their offensive capabilities. The defense then obviously takes a huge nerf. Like everything gets nerfed. It's like you're in the ultimate injury status effect, right? Your speed takes a hit. Your poke checks become ineffective body checks. You can't really pick up the puck very smoothly. And your stamina bar just continually depletes with every action and move that you do. And obviously the way you end it is you either clear the zone or the timer ticks out. It doesn't end when you get it out of your zone as far as past the blue line. You have to take it all the way to center ice for it to end. And it doesn't end right away. It seems like it delays a little bit when you pass center ice. And it seems like the effect is still there. So I think the way to play around that, if you intend to skate it out, is to, if you don't have a clean entry into the zone, where you can't really necessarily want to dump it, as soon as you get it past the center ice, then you retreat and try to pass it back and reset the play. But overall, it's a great mentality to add because it changes the way you play both offensively and defensively. First of all, if you're on the defensive side of this thing, this ticker is in the back of your mind constantly. So you can't just play middle slot and allow these teams to just kind of do their thing and then just wait for them to cut in and try to hit them. You have to kind of now force the play. It gets people out of that skill zone mindset where they just kind of hold the slot. And I think for offense, it encourages players to get on the forecheck, right? Dump the puck in, try to get on the forecheck. That will add to the gauge. To take more shots, like from the point, from weird angles, try to get rebounds, right? Because it adds to the gauge. I think these are positive things that change the way people play, try to resemble in a real hockey world experience. I think it's great. I think it's a great addition. They fine-tune some of the things. I think it becomes an amazing mechanic into the game of hockey. Now, whether we like that or not, it depends on how you want to play the game, right? It definitely allows for those greater skilled teams to win the game, you know, and get more and actually score more often, because, you know, if you're outworking this other team, you're constantly getting this pressure gauge filled, you have a greater chance of scoring, greater chance of winning the game. You should get rewarded for how much you're in the zone, how much you're taking shots, things like that, time on attack. There's been plenty of games in the past where we lose games even though we've outshot the opponent, we've had all this time on attack, and we're not able to score, and this team goes down, takes a shot from weird angle, and it goes in. In terms of keeping with offense, the LTs are different. They're not completely gone, but you can't like chain LTs together like you would do. You back skate, turn, back skate again, or something like that. You can only, but you can, it's not completely gone. You can make one move. If you go in practice mode, if whichever handedness you are, left or right, you go to that boards, right? If you're a left-handed stick, you go to the left boards. You're a right-handed stick, you go to the right boards. And you do the initial first LT spin inward. That's like the only LT that works. You can't go as a left-handed stick from the right side and try to spin the other way. You can only spin to your left if you're a left-handed stick. You can only spin to the right if you're a right-handed stick. I don't know why it's, you know, why that's limited like that, or why you can only make that one move. But I mean, I guess whatever, right? It's not like it's that effective. You can only make that one move, and then you have to move the puck, pass, shoot, whatever, skate. So it definitely changes the way you play like that, because you can't just continuously just be you know, spamming LT and making all these moves. You now have to actually use your teammates, move the puck, and not just hold on to it for a long time. So passing in this game is great. I love that one-touch pass. It looks so clean when it goes off nicely. And I think it's a necessary addition to the game, especially since now you can't really solo play so much. You have to utilize your teammates. I think it just really helps with, you know, extending plays, things like that, and just setting up those greasy, you know, tic-tac-toes. I think it's a great thing. Passing is actually, I feel like it's a lot better this year than last year, even though it doesn't seem like that. I think just the one touch is just applies more to the game, I think. So there's one problem with the offense that I don't like, and it's the 1Ts. So in previous years, if you're trying to prep for a 1T, you would obviously be square to the puck, then you'd hold your right stick up, and then your guy would be prepped to, when the pass comes, your guy just automatically, you know, shoots the 1T, rips a 1T. Now what happens is when you, as soon as you flick up on the right stick to try to be ready for it, your guy will just shove. So now you can't prep yourself to hold it. Now you have to time and wait for the pass to come through before shooting it. And it's really buggy and stuff like that, because it just, to try to like wait for that puck to come through to be prepped for it, it not only affects the 1Ts in terms of just being square to it, but also affects the backdoor feeds. If you're trying to just tap it in from the far side post or something like that, it gets really buggy. It's not a good thing. That needs to be changed. I think if you're on offense, you should not be able to just nudge people like that. If I'm trying to hold it, it should be like how it was in 23. I'm ready for the 1T. You know what I mean? As soon as that pass comes, you're going to shoot it. You're not just going to shove your arms, your hands into open space. And that could result in the penalty too. We've gotten called a couple of times with interferences because we're trying to be ready and wind up hitting somebody, and it's just, come on. That shouldn't be there. The goalies are abysmal in this game. AI goalies and even human goalies were complaining about how trash the animations are. You can score with practically any glitch goal in previous years on an AI goalie. They rarely save anything. Even there was a lot of 5-hole shots going through, a lot of short side shots, a lot of weird angle shots going through. Goalies are trash. When the pressure gate system would activate, they would really die for practically every single shot. And that just put them in just a weird spot every time any rebound was going in. And they would rarely save anything anyway. Even when the pressure gauge wasn't active, it was still, they would still dive for just a simple routine save. Something I was fearing when I saw the trailer for it, because that's all that they were doing in the trailer, was just diving left and right, whatever. Goalies, though, have a tough time from what I'm seeing, just making basic saves. The animations are just not consistent. The controls are really screwed up from what I'm hearing. I don't play goalie, so I don't really know how it feels, but I know based on the look of it and what guys were saying that it's in a very tough state. It definitely needs fixing, and I would actually say that actually needs probably more fixing than anything else in this beta. In terms of defense, I think defense is very similar to how it was, depending on your style. Obviously, the hitting is the newest thing and the newest change. A lot of people don't like it. Some guys do. I think it's a nice addition to the game. It kind of gets away from just the mindset of just holding your right stick up and just charging at guys, allowing the game to do itself, right? To do the hitting for you. And you now have to time what type of hit you want to do, whether it be a charged hit, you know, you pull back on the stick to charge, up then to obviously body check, or you can just flick it up on the right stick to just give a little shove. And sometimes that's all you want to do, and it minimizes the chances of taking a penalty unnecessarily. There is one problem that I don't think a whole lot of people realize. It's when you hold down and you charge, your guy, if there's a player near you, will accelerate to him very quickly, depending on what type of build you have. But honestly, I think every single build, it sort of did this. If you're right next to somebody or you're near somebody and you're trying to like charge at them, the game will just accelerate your player right to him very, very damn quickly. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't, but a lot of times it did. And that just helps the ability to hit, especially if you have truculence. You won't miss a hit if you do that. It also can be used on the back check, holding your right stick down, similar to how it was in 22. For a lot of guys that did this, you would hold RB and you would hold your stick out, and that would accelerate your player back into the play, or just kind of just be very quickly on the back check. That's the same mechanic being utilized now with the charge. When you are back checking, you could do that, and it's very, very quickly, especially if it's super quick build. You can back check extremely quickly back, and you won't get really beat. You'll have a greater chance of playing the puck. I think it shouldn't be there. That's obviously not something I like in the game. So hopefully that gets tweaked a little bit. You know, the body checks were not really extremely effective all the time. You kind of really had to time it. I feel like it was more my skill than it was the game. But there were a couple times I felt like I would body check and I would lay somebody out. Then I tried to do that same body check again. It was kind of buggy. I would kind of miss, or I would hit them and it wouldn't do anything. So it's kind of, I don't know. Taking into account, we gotta have to, you know, improve on that and see if it really is just the game or if it's just our own skill level. We'll say hip checks in this game are unnecessarily OP. They should not be as OP as they are. I think if you line up a hip check properly, it should result in a big hit. But I've been seeing just very slow glides to players with the hip check, and as if you touch them, if you make contact with them, you're flipping them over your body. I don't know about that one. That shouldn't be there like that. It shouldn't work in open ice. I think it should work along the board. If you angle to them properly, it should not be as good as it is. Poke checking feels very similar to the to 23. I think you still slow down very quickly when you poke check. I felt like when you tap RB or R1 and you don't hold the stick out, your guy, it seems like it takes longer for your guy to kind of get going again. Like there's that extra delay with the poke check, with the animation, and it takes longer for your guy to kind of get back to full speed. When you hold the stick out and you aim it to them, that you kind of carry more of your momentum into the poke check. And I think that's a better way of attacking the play anyway when you're side by side with somebody, than as opposed to just simply trying to tap it. There were a couple times where the poke checks would go to their legs when the puck was right there. Kind of had the same issue with 23, but it seemed more frequent to happen in 24. Other than that, the poke checks are pretty similar. The way you play defense is pretty similar. Stick lifts were pretty much identical. You get called the same way you do in 23. If you're in front of them, you don't get the call, right? You go for their stick, and it does work. So that's still kind of the same. It seemed like penalties were inconsistent. I was getting a lot of elbowing calls when I would do the charging hits. There was cross-checking. There was the hooks were pretty good. I'd say poke checks when you trip, that's pretty consistent. I mean, that's been there. But a lot of just weird like interference calls that we've seen in previous years just in the slot. Sometimes they get called, sometimes they don't. You would get an interference call sometimes when you would tie somebody up in the slot, and it would be an interference call. And, you know, usually you would only get called outside the slot. I was getting called inside the slot too at times. It wasn't always there, but it was weird. From time to time, it would be there. When I was using truculence and sixes a couple times, I would be getting called sent to the box just for my guy deciding to take his fist right to the guy's face instead of just landing a clean shoulder-to-shoulder contact. Not sure if that goes into discipline at all, but if it does, that means my discipline was clearly too low. At 85, it's too low. X-Factor abilities, they said they never tweaked them, and it seems like that's the case. Big Tipper feels the same. Close quarters feels the same. 1Ts, when you actually do pull them off, they do feel the same. Truculence. Truculence will be powerful again this year, especially with the acceleration boost to the charge. If that stays the same, truculence will be used in 24, and it will be used exactly the same as it has been in 23 and all these other previous years like in 22. If they tweak the way the charge hit accelerates, and it actually does apply hitting assistance to it as well, if they tweak that, then you may not see too many guys use truculence, but it will be used exactly how it was in 23, and it will be effective. When I put it on, I was rarely missing hits. I think it definitely needs to be tweaked. Unstoppable Force seemed pretty god tier as well. I don't know how it, with truculence versus Unstoppable Force, how that matches up, but when I was using Unstoppable Force, I rarely took a hit because of the hitting system being different. I feel like a lot of guys didn't know how to hit, and with Unstoppable Force, didn't seem like I was getting moved too much off the puck. But I think when people do figure out how to hit, it'll be a good test to see how effective that trait is. Was effective in 23, but not really. It didn't seem like it was really effective against anybody with truculence. We'll see how that, if that changes in 24. As far as the glass breaking and your stick breaking, that would happen throughout the games. Didn't happen every game. Happened probably once or twice a game, I'd say. Either it'd be the glass breaking or your stick snapped. It seemed like the glass breaks happened more than your stick breaking. It only happened, seemed like the stick was breaking like once every few games, which is, I guess, good. It shouldn't be in a competitive environment anyway. Hopefully they do something to remove that. As far as the glass breaking, again, that's something that just stops the play. It ruins the momentum of a team. Stays in the zone too. The net was getting dislodged a lot of times by goalies, players. So there's a lot of just weird little things here and there that just should kind of just be removed. Like, I see the net can be dislodged, but it shouldn't be dislodged by the goalie trying to hug his post. Happened a lot. And then players just sort of running into their net to stop play too. That's something too that just I didn't like. Overall, my style with the game, I think I still kept the same style. If you're somebody who utilized the different metas in 23, like the LTs and just utilizing truculence, then your style, you're going to probably feel a bigger difference in 24 than somebody like me who would just sort of play more fundamental defense, holding slot, poke checks, things like that, like good positions for intercepts, things like that. So my style defensively never really changed. It doesn't change. Offense too. The only difference being the LTs. Offense is pretty similar. You would have to utilize more of your teammates with quick passes, quick setups. I think that's a great thing to see, and that would be something great to see adapted in 24. As far as biggest year-to-year change, I don't know if it really should hold that title, because again, it just depends on how you played the game. If you're going to talk about biggest year-to-year change, I would bring up the conversation of 21 to 22 with the movement to Frostbite for the first time and the introduction of the X Factors. I think that to me was a bigger change and a bigger adjustment than what we're seeing now from 23 to 24. But I don't know, you guys let me know how you guys feel. That's pretty much what I got. I think it's going to be a good year for 24. If they fix some of the little things, they tweak it, and they kind of manage the game a bit more this year than they've done, obviously, in 23. I think we'll see a pretty good, successful year and pretty fun and entertaining hockey experience. But you guys let me know what you guys think and what your takeaways are, and if you have any different opinions than what I said. And I'll see you guys next time.